I live alone in a small unit above the main terminal room. No television, no internet, just tapes, hundreds of them. The tapes started arriving 6 months ago. No return address, no explanation. Sometimes, just barely, something would move.
You are listening to the Fearcast. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill.
I'm 33 years old, and I run a long-forgotten telecom relay station in the outskirts of southern Idaho. The facility, Station B, was decommissioned years ago, but someone still has to monitor the few remaining signal test lines that pass through its circuitry. Most people don't even know it exists. That's how I like it. The building is squat and square, nestled in a stretch of flat land surrounded by fog-thick forests. It hums constantly, not from any identifiable source, just a persistent drone in the air, like the place is breathing through the walls. I live alone in a small unit above the main terminal room. No television, no internet, just tapes, hundreds of them. The tapes started arriving 6 months ago. No return address, no explanation. Unmarked black VHS cassettes, bundled in weathered brown mailers, and left in the facility's out-of-use Dropbox. The first few were just static. Then, they changed. I'd plug one into the old console deck, a rusty Panasonic reel loader hooked up to a CRT, and hit play. Each began the same, color bars. Then a low fade into a location I didn't recognize. Dim rooms, empty stairwells, vacant intersections in cities I couldn't name. Grainy, desaturated, liminal. There were never any people, just these dead places. Except, sometimes, just barely, something would move. At first, I convinced myself it was a trick of the tape, glitching frames, tracking errors, but it kept happening. In the far corner of a motel lobby, reflected in a broken mirror in a laundromat, a shadow, an outline, standing still, tense, always watching. One tape stood out. I loaded it at 2:13 a.m., a time I now avoid instinctively. It opened on a fog-choked overpass. You could see the edges of a collapsed guardrail, as if something massive had tumbled through. In the middle of the frame stood a payphone, intact, but vibrating faintly, like it was being dialed by invisible fingers. The screen cut to black, then text. You used to answer. No sound, just those words. Then the tape ejected itself. I swear I didn't touch a thing. Since then, they come weekly. Thicker envelopes, longer tapes. And they're not just locations anymore. They're recordings of rooms I recognize. The staff hallway I pass every day. The kitchenette in the upper dorms. The corridor with the emergency exit that never opens. Filmed from angles I can't reach. Places I know, but not at the times I remember being in them. And then came the footage of me. One tape showed me sleeping, the camera positioned from the ceiling, swaying gently like it was hanging from a light fixture. I slept on my side, blanket half kicked off, jaw slack, hands curled awkwardly at my chest. I watched myself sleep for 11 full minutes before the screen cut to static. The next day, I checked the room for any sign of tampering. Nothing. I tried to convince myself I was wrong, that it wasn't me, that it couldn't be. But the worn gray t-shirt I wore in the footage had a hole under the left sleeve. So did the one in my closet. A few weeks later, something new arrived, an audio cassette. No label, just a faint smell of ozone on the tape. I played it on an old deck I'd repaired the previous winter. It started with static, then a voice, flat, genderless, as if filtered through dozens of tones. Not quite electronic, not quite human. "You forgot the door," it said. Then, silence. A click. And beneath the silence, layered and almost imperceptible, I heard my own voice, not speaking, muttering, looping some nonsense phrase I couldn't understand. I played it 10 times before realizing it wasn't nonsense. Frantic. "Why aren't you answering? Why won't you answer? Why aren't you?" Abruptly, I shut it off. That night, the power in the station flickered. For exactly 4 minutes, every monitor turned on by itself, showing different black and white feeds. Camera angles I had not installed, views of hallways, stairwells, and the boiler room, as if the building had grown extra eyes. One of the feeds showed a figure standing at the foot of the stairwell, face obscured by blur, body wrong in subtle ways, too still, too symmetrical. I blinked. It vanished. I didn't sleep that night. I sat by the loading bay doors, flashlight in one hand, an old emergency radio in the other. I listened to the static of the emergency band for hours. At 3:47 a.m., I heard faint breathing. Just once. I reported it to what remains of corporate oversight. A voicemail. Resigned voice. They never called back. Then, 2 nights ago, a package arrived, bigger than the rest, a box. Inside, stacked with unnatural precision, were 17 tapes, each with a date, each labeled with my name. The earliest was from 1994, disbelieving. I was 2 years old. I've watched 15 of them. They don't follow a timeline. They're like dreams, a little too coherent, then not coherent at all. They show me in places I've never been, a grocery store I don't remember, a cul-de-sac with houses that feel half-rendered, incomplete. Me, riding a tricycle past a stop sign that spins slowly on its own. In every single tape, the figure is there, ominous, closer, sharper, still no face. I played the 16th tape an hour ago. It shows the interior of this station, room B12, where we keep the analog backup servers. The lights flicker. I appear in frame, walking in. I sit at the terminal. I type something. Confused, One remains. It's sitting on the deck right now. I haven't pressed play yet. I'm afraid this one won't end. Afraid it'll show something I can't unsee. Or worse, that it won't show anything at all. I've started hearing a tone just under the range of human hearing. A sub-bass vibration that makes my bones ache. It's not tinnitus, it's coming from the walls. The last tape is labeled simply now. If I don't make another entry in the logs, assume the tape showed what it needed to show. And if you're watching this, don't come looking for Station B. Some signals were never meant to be found.
It started when I joined a lesser-known indie MMO called Spirit Thorn. It wasn't big and most of the player base had already moved on to other games, but that's what drew me in. The world had this dreamlike, soft-hued look, like an old postcard soaked in tea. Characters didn't speak, they used symbols, and the environments looked like they were built from forgotten memories. You couldn't fast travel, and even walking felt slow, which I found oddly calming. I first ran into Mira in the sunken library zone. I had gotten turned around inside that glitchy maze of spiral staircases and floating bookshelves. My character kept falling through unrendered floorboards. I was just about to log off when this tall figure with silver robes and an ivory mask appeared in front of me. She held up a symbol, an open eye inside a circle, and turned to walk. Curious, I followed. She led me out of the glitched area and into a small, hidden garden filled with white trees that weren't marked on the map. When I typed thanks into the chat box, a message appeared instantly. Glad you made it. We played together every night after that. I learned Mira had been playing since the beta days. She showed me all kinds of things. How to summon a lantern companion that whispered riddles, or how to find the stairwell that led nowhere but made your footsteps echo like a cathedral. She never used a mic, always text. Over time, I began to share details about my life. I told her I lived alone, worked night shifts at a 24-hour pharmacy, and had been stuck in a loop for what felt like forever. She said she understood. She said she used to live with her brother, but he'd left suddenly and she had no family left. I imagined her in some apartment filled with dusty shelves and humming electronics, eyes glowing in the light of her monitor. She told me she was from Ohio. I'm in Michigan, not too far, just far enough. We started sending each other messages outside of the game, not texts. Mira didn't do phones. She used an old, encrypted messenger I had to install from a sketchy link. It ran in a plain grey window with no timestamps. I wish you could see the real me. I do, every time we play. That's not me, not really. I should have felt uneasy, but I didn't. Mira had a presence that felt bigger than the screen. I once told her I had a recurring dream where I was floating in a train station at night with no exits. She replied within seconds.
I know. I've been there too.
That message stayed with me. One night she said she wanted to meet, not face to face, but something close.
Just come into the game tomorrow night. Don't bring anything. Just yourself.
When I logged in, she was waiting in that same hidden garden. The leaves on the trees had changed to grey. She asked me to follow her again, and this time she led me to a door in a part of the world that shouldn't have existed. It was untextured, raw geometry, white blocks like a forgotten developer test room. She opened the door and stepped inside. I hesitated, but curiosity won. On the other side was a corridor, and when I say that, I don't mean a game corridor. I mean my screen shifted in a way that shouldn't have been possible. It looked like real footage, VHS static clung to the edges of the walls. The corridor stretched endlessly in both directions, but Mira was there, standing in the middle. She typed,
"This is the place between me and you."
Then she logged off. That was the last time I saw her in-game. I messaged her. Nothing. Days passed, then weeks. I logged into Spirit Thorn nightly, waiting. I even went back to the corridor, but it wouldn't open again. Then, one night, the messenger app pinged.
"Come see me. I sent you the location."
Attached was a photo, blurry, night-tinted, taken from a dashcam or maybe an old phone. It showed a gas station next to a cornfield under a starless sky. The place was labeled Exit 47, which I Googled and found to be off I-75, near the Ohio border. I don't know what possessed me, but I went. The screen went black, then filled with static. I left around midnight, the roads dead silent except for the hum of tires. I reached Exit 47 an hour later. The gas station from the photo was real, just as empty, just as liminal. The fluorescent lights flickered even though the place looked abandoned. There were no cars, no pumps, just the station. A glass door smeared with fingerprints and the endless rows of corn beyond. I parked and sat for a moment hoping to see someone, anything. I checked my phone. "Come in." The door opened before I touched it. No chime, no sound. The inside was wrong. It was deeper than the outside suggested. Aisles longer than possible, shelves repeating. I walked through it like a dream, and then I heard it. A faint electronic hum, like a monitor warming up. A low whisper of static. At the back of the store was a door. Not an employees-only one, not a storage area, just a grey, metallic slab without a handle. It slid open as I approached. The room behind it looked like the corridor from the game. Same impossible geometry, same flickering light. Mira stood in the center, still in her ivory mask. But this wasn't a model. This wasn't virtual. She was real, or something close. Her form pulsed subtly, like she was held together by frequencies instead of bones. I couldn't see her face, but I could feel it watching me, like pressure behind my eyes. She didn't speak. She just raised her hand and made the open eye symbol from the game. Then she touched my chest. I woke up in my car outside the gas station with the dawn creeping in. The store behind me was boarded up. There were weeds through the pavement, like it had been abandoned for years. I checked my phone. The messenger app was gone. So was Spirit Thorn. The shortcut led nowhere. Forums said the game was shut down years ago. My email history with Mira's account had vanished. Every record of her was wiped clean. That was 2 months ago. Last night I was organizing old files on my PC when a folder popped up on my desktop. It was named Where You Are. Inside was a single executable file, and through it, slowly, came a familiar message.
I missed you. This is the place between me and you.
And now, I can't close the window. It's full screen, locked. My keyboard doesn't work. My webcam light turned on. She's still watching. She found me again, and this time, I think she's closer.
It started when I unpacked my old VR headset. I found it in a plastic bin while cleaning out my dad's storage unit. He used to collect all sorts of electronics, from old tube PVs to projectors from the early 2000s. The headset was tucked next to a cracked PS2 and an unopened router box. It was the Gen 1 Mindport VR, the kind that got pulled off the market for causing seizures, or maybe something worse, I don't remember. It was part of a batch from a defunct startup in 2016. They called it neurosensitive hardware. My dad had picked it up secondhand off some forum. I should have thrown it out, but instead I plugged it in. The thing booted right up. There was no OS menu or calibration, just a flicker, and suddenly I was in this default space. Not a lobby or a room, just a long, empty corridor with pale walls and an infinite ceiling that disappeared into static. I thought it was a demo environment. No UI, no instructions, just footsteps. Mine. Then I got a message. It hovered in front of me, written in that basic VR system font. Welcome back, L. That stopped me cold. I don't use my real name on anything. Not games, not forums, not socials. And this headset was never mine. It had only ever been in a box since my dad brought it home. I powered the thing down immediately. Day 2. Curiosity won out. I put it on again, just to see. Same hallway, endless, pale. I walked for what felt like an hour. The floor echoed faintly with each step, but nothing changed. No doors, no music, just that flat lighting and faint static above. Then the message appeared again. You're closer now. Something about it didn't feel like a system message. I didn't type that in, and this wasn't an app. A moment later, I got an invite. A floating notification. User V1KTOR wants to share a session. Accept, decline. I declined. The invite disappeared. But the username lingered in my mind. I didn't sleep well that night. Day 3. I looked up the username. Nothing came up. No profiles. No VR logs. Not even cached searches. Like it was scrubbed clean or never existed. That evening, I powered the headset up again. I wanted to record what I saw this time. This time, the hallway was different. Subtle, but wrong. The floor wasn't flat. It dipped in strange angles. The walls pulsed ever so slightly, like lungs taking slow breaths. The invite came again. V1KTOR wants to share a session. This time, I accepted. The moment I did, the world around me blinked. I was still in the corridor, but not alone. There was a figure ahead, gray-toned, too tall, not textured right. It stood still, facing away, but I could feel it watching me somehow. It didn't move. It didn't need to. I tried to speak. My mic was active. I could see the indicator, but no sound came out. Then, one final message. You left. You forgot, but I remember. I tore the headset off. Day 4. Things changed in my apartment. My smart TV turned on by itself, always to static, never a channel. My phone rang from an unlisted number. When I answered, there was a low hum, like someone breathing into the speaker. No words, just that sound. Later, I checked the VR headset. It was already on, even though I never touched it. When I looked inside, the corridor was still there. So was the figure. Closer now, too close. Day 5. I visited my sister, needed to get out of the apartment. I didn't tell her everything, just said I found something in storage that creeped me out. She laughed, said I always got carried away with tech. While we were talking, my phone buzzed. One new message. From unknown. You shouldn't have left again. I turned it off. When I got back home, my apartment was freezing. The thermostat had been reset. There was something scratched into the screen. Stay. I put a blanket over the VR headset and shoved it into the closet. Day 6. I stayed off everything. No TV, no phone, no headset. But around 3:14 a.m., the power flickered. My laptop booted up on its own. The screen was black except for one word flashing slowly in the middle. Remember. Then it switched to static, then back off. I don't remember installing anything that could do that. I've always been careful. Day 7. I tried throwing the headset away. I walked 2 blocks to a public dumpster, tossed it in, and walked back. But when I got inside, it was on my couch. No dust, no damage, just sitting there, powered on, the corridor reflected faintly in its lenses. There was no invite this time, just a message. It's not just you anymore. That's when I noticed my smart mirror was glowing. It never glows. I walked toward it, and for a split second, I saw the corridor reflected there too, and something standing behind me in the glass. I reached out to an old friend who used to work on AR systems. I told him about the mine port and described everything I'd seen. He went quiet for a long time and then asked me to send photos. When I did, he called back in under a minute. He said the serial number didn't match any retail batch. It was part of a developer release, never shipped. Only about 50 units were made. The test group experienced something. Some logged memory glitches, hallucinations. One tester disappeared after claiming a voice in the headset kept telling him to come home. The Mineport project was shut down, no explanation, just buried. My dad must have gotten it from someone in that circle. Maybe he never knew what it really was. I didn't sleep, I just watched. The headset hasn't moved. But sometimes I hear footsteps from inside the closet, like someone pacing, slow, methodical. Every time I check, the closet's empty, but the headset is always powered on, and the corridor inside keeps changing. There are markings on the wall now, symbols I don't recognize. They move when I'm not looking directly at them. The figure is always present. It never leaves. Day 10, I turned it on one last time. The figure was right in front of me now, close enough to see its face, but there was nothing there, just the vague impression of someone I used to know, like a half-remembered dream or a corrupted file of someone you once loved. Then the walls of the corridor split open like peeling paper. Behind them was a black space, and in that space were others, other people, maybe. Their bodies flickered like glitching avatars. But their eyes were human, and every single one was watching me. The final message came. This is where we wait. Don't forget again. Then the headset shut off for the first time on its own. I haven't turned it back on since. I've locked it in a metal case and put it in the basement. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear the soft click of it powering on from 3 floors below. I think, whatever it is, it's still trying to find its way back, not just to me, but through me,